Soto and Chad here. And I know it's been a few weeks since this came out, but we finally got around to watching it, and we kind of want to give our overall review and predictions of what's going to happen to Cobra Kai. Because they broke Cobra Kai, the final season, up into three parts. So three 5 episode parts. So they kind of said each one's kind of like a movie. We can determine that was good or not. That's a discussion for another time. But we just watched the
Sure.
first 5 episodes of part one. Um,
Mhm.
Obviously, we're both Karate Kid fans. We've been loving the series. But before we get into a lot of things, this video is going to be what we like about it and maybe some predictions of what's going to happen to Cobra Kai the next 2 parts. So if you haven't seen it, there is spoilers. Stop this video, go watch it because the show is friggin' awesome. So, but let's start off in the general sense. Soto, these 5 episodes, what did you think of it as a whole? What do you think of the Cobra Kai's final season so far?
I thought it was fine. Yeah, I was lost when I first started watching it because I was like, what the hell happened? Because they had like a whole recap and everything. Like there was at least 3 episodes where I completely forgot who Devin was and what her relationship was to Johnny Lawrence. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, I was going to Sarah and I was like, we were talking. I'm like, who is this? Like I forget this entire thing, and I'm like, it's Karate Kid, so I'm like, who cares? But overall, I thought it was fine. Love the teen angst action. I'm confused about the whole crease thing. Maybe you can kind of explain that. I know he broke out of jail, but then it looked like he went to another country. I don't know if I missed that. Did I?
So at the end of the season 5, correct. So
Yes.
John Kreese is in jail, and he's in jail because, and this is the one major thing I feel these creators fucked up, and let me explain why.
Yeah, they kind
No,
of
no, no,
did.
because him and Terry Silver had butting heads, and rightfully so, because you have to create more of a story. And the whole thing was Terry Silver got Stingray to blame John Kreese for basically beating the crap out of each other. Remember,
Oh,
that's what
yes,
happened. That's why
yes,
Kreese went
yep.
to jail, okay? Because
Hmm.
of that, because of I think there's other things too, but that was so basically Terry Silver set up John Kreese. Now,
Hmm.
if you remember at the final episode of season 5, that huge fight at Terry Silver's. They beat Terry Silver. Everyone knows how much he caused. So I'm like, this is how John Kreese comes out. He doesn't have to do anything. These creators made such more of a story because basically it's like John Kreese could get out of jail because guess what? They know he was set up. But then they
Hmm.
created this whole story that he murdered someone in jail, he escaped. And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
You just made this more complicated than you needed it to be. Because now,
Yep.
you're making Kreese could have had a redemption angle. He might still, but him just like, hey, he gets out of jail, and then that's your in because he can still take Cobra Kai, and Johnny and Danny can still take, Miyagi Do / Eagle
Hmm.
Fang. So you could have
Hmm.
still almost get to that end. The same thing, he's looking for that new student. He goes, to the woman again, like, hey, let's bring some of your students. They could have done it, but yeah. So I think they ruined the end of last season by having Kreese break. Yeah, so he basically went to another country.
How?
We don't know. He's fucking John Kreese. But I don't.
But it's like the only way that I understood that it was a different country was that they made it more blue. And I was like, is this a different country and not California because it's a different filter on the camera? I'm confused. So I was like, and then how did Kreese get there? I was so a lot of the time, and yeah, I enjoy Cobra Kai as a show, and I enjoyed a lot of the back and forth and stuff. But there were like parts where I was like, huh? And then the whole like Miyagi thing, where like now Mr. Miyagi has some sort of like backstory, and they were like on a quest to kind of figure out what the fuck happened. And then that set Daniel LaRusso in this whole thing where he was like just pissed off about that he didn't know about stuff about Mr. Miyagi. I mean, I don't know. It
I
feels like it's like things are just kind of like just trying to wrap up every single possible thing
well,
that
and
could
that
have happened.
so that the creator said every character from big to small, their stories are going to wrap up. We saw like the bully from the first season. We kind of saw him. What's going on with
Yeah.
him. So I kind of like that idea. So Mr. Miyagi's past, that is a big wrinkle because, and that is finally the dynamic, which we all love Mr. Miyagi. He was such a peaceful person, but he knows this. Obviously, we know from what Chosen, some of the teachings long ago that he knows some deadly shit. So this
Hmm.
backstory, I think, is going to help create Daniel's full redemption arc in a way, because he's going to realize that Miyagi wasn't perfect, but he did his best, and I think that's where LaRusso is going to come to too. Plus, we know that Ralph Macchio and Jackie Chan are doing this new Karate Kid movie that's kind of separate to Cobra Kai, but I think they're going to tie. This is how they tie it in a little bit, because my opinion,
really?
well, because I think that's how he gets there, because Mr. Miyagi, as we find out, had something to do with the Sakai Takai tournament. Whether or not he fought in it, whether or not he knew someone, he was in it. And who's to say that Jackie Chan in his dojo when he was younger was not in it? So again, we don't know the dynamics, but that's going to be like a connection in this tournament. I think at the end of Cobra Kai, as far as Daniel's story, and I know there's a lot of stories we're going to talk about, Daniel's Miyagi-Do is going to shut down. He's going to kind of just close it down because he doesn't need it anymore. Daniel does not need this. He's like,
his wife doesn't want it anymore.
Correct.
Like, every time
he's
it comes up, it's like the karate wars. Like, how much longer are we going to do karate?
But that's the thing.
It doesn't make sense.
I think he's going to all this whatever he learns about Miyagi to a point, because again, I think this is going to continue in that movie. I think he can be like, listen, I'm okay. I don't need to teach Miyagi's karate. It's just more of a way of life, be good, this and that.
Sure.
I think at the end, that's what's going to happen with Daniel. I think somehow this whole story, he's just going to realize, yes, Miyagi has a past, but that everyone does. Everyone does. Even Daniel admits it himself. You remember Karate Kid Part 3, he joined Cobra Kai. That's, he kind of talked about it. He went to the dark side, sort of say, but he came back. And it just shows that not everyone's perfect, but it's okay. So yeah, I think they needed to bring some of Miyagi's past into this, because we hardly know. We don't know that much about Mr. Miyagi. We know he had a wife who died in labor. He had his long lost love in Okinawa because he went away. He didn't want to fight Sato for it. So we know bits, but there's so much more that we did not know. So I think this extra wrinkle creates the dynamic of Miyagi. And yes, Daniel thinks of him as this godlike father figure, and it's like, it's okay. He's not perfect. And I think once he comes to terms to it, I think that's his whole arc in this. So... But I don't think Miyagi doesn't exist. And I think Johnny Lawrence is going to end up in Cobra Kai. He's going to run Cobra Kai. He's going to get it back from Kreese, and however that might happen. But I think at the end, it's who Lawrence is. So I think he's finally going to get everything Cobra Kai. But he's going to be stuck in the 80s. But I think he will do Cobra Kai, but teach some of Miyagi's, as far as defensive things. Like, he's going to teach both. He's not going to call it that, but because he's learned a little bit, I think that's how Johnny Lawrence is going to end it. He's going to have Cobra Kai because, he just loves to fight, which we learned in this series. He just loves to fight. But
he's the best part of the show. A lot of it was Johnny Lawrence centered, I think, at the beginning, and now it's more like Daniel LaRusso and Johnny Lawrence kind of a thing. But just the Johnny Lawrence character was so fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
That I can't see any other way that it would end. Yeah, I guess that would work out. I'd be okay with that ending. Perfectly fine. It just, I want them to stop doing karate because it's stupid. And it doesn't make any sense in an adult world to have dojos and stuff. I mean, sure, kids. I think you might have mentioned too when we were talking, about the graduation aspect and things like that, and the kind of, because there's the kids. Then there's Johnny Lawrence and there's Daniel. They all have their arcs. Yeah. And the kids would be a graduation arc. I think that all makes sense. I think my biggest kind of fear, and it's not really a fear, but I just hope that they don't. I hope they wrap everything up.
I think they will.
And I hope they don't just go, oh, now we're going to do the young people's version of Karate Kid. You know what I'm saying? Let's say Cobra Kai ends, and now they're like, oh, let's continue Miguel's storyline, or... I don't know, this fucking, you know what I mean? I just feel like it's going to make money, and they might try to capitalize on it.
They might, but I feel like when Cobra Kai is said and done, they'll end it whether or not, even if they do an additional Miguel story, Robbie story, whatever, I don't think that they're going to end it on a loose end. They're going to tie up this story, and then they can decide later on, hey, it's like a bonus, but you don't, it's not like Cobra Kai ends well, what happened to Miguel? And it's funny you mentioned the kids, because I was thinking about this tournament, the major tournament, because
what is it called again?
The Sakai to Kai. I don't know. I cannot pronounce it, or it rhymes. It confuses the.
Everybody says it differently in this show. I'm like, oh my god! And every time somebody says it, it would just tick me out of this. I'm like, oh my god, yes, I get it.
But I think
But
having this
anyways, yes.
tournament makes it, that way they don't have to do these random fights at places and stuff like that. Because I think the next set of 5, we're going to get a little backstory about how Kreese got Tori back on his side. I think we'll have like
Okay.
an episode of that. But the rest, I think, is going to take place all about this tournament. And it's going to the second set of 5 is going to end when the tournament ends. I don't think this series is going to end at this tournament. I think the final 5 is going to wrap up everything back home. Like I think graduation is a good part because then all these kids are going to move on. They're going to be like, karate's not a part of our lives anymore. We're going to take these teachings, but they're well,
Karate's
like you
not
said,
part of our
they're not
lives.
going to be fighting the rest of their lives. But the LaRussos, I think, will be finished. I mean, not finished, but their story is going to be finished and stuff like that. And I think, obviously Lawrence and the baby, that's coming. So I think everything's going to come out
Sure.
happy. It's got to come out happy, basically. It's the only way I can see it. It's just
Don't
how we get there.
overcomplicate it,
No,
Just don't
you don't need
overcomplicate
to.
it. Just,
And
just do it.
so the winners of this tournament, it's the only thing I can't figure out yet because it's obviously going to come down to Tori versus Sam. They've had it like
God.
that's it. Because since now Tori's on Cobra Kai, you're like there's no other logical ending to that. Now whoever wins, I could see either one winning for different reasons, story wise. Like that's the hardest to predict. Then I look at the men's side because now you got Robbie, who's the captain. Because so you think he's going to fight the new bad boy at Cobra Kai, whatever his name
Oh
is,
yeah. Yeah.
the rebel. But I'm going to throw this out there. I don't think Robbie's going to make it to the final. I think this show started, as you said, with Johnny, but it also started with Miguel. Miguel is, in a way, the Karate Kid of the series. Remember, he was getting bullied, and he learned, and his story arc kind of went through family, and now it finished. So I think, obviously, we're going to see some crazy fight scenes. That's not tournament between the, like, in the, I hate to say in the streets, but between this, Japanese, the new Cobra Kai, and I think Robbie's going to get injured. I think that's going to bring Tori back to realize how Cobra Kai is wrong, and I think Miguel's going to have to step into this tournament, and he will win it. I don't think Robbie doesn't need the win. I feel like Miguel, his journey throughout this whole series, he needs this final win, like because Robbie's he just needed balance. He never needed a win to define his career, whereas Miguel wanted to prove himself. So I don't think Robbie's going to make it to the final fight. I think Miguel's going to step in and then kick this rebel Cobra Kai's ass, basically. So. That's just my opinion. I'm just kind of throwing a prediction out there because it's like they don't play it safe, but they do things a little bit differently. So
I'm okay with all of that, honestly. Like I said, it doesn't need to be complicated.
nope.
Show me some stuff. I will say that, just watching a show with kids in it, that I'm just surprised. And I don't know anything about new kids' fashions or anything like that, but it seems to me that there's a lot of like 90s fashion that is just like back in style, and I'm just confused because it makes me kind of think like I'm watching Saved by the Bell, but I understand that these trends are coming back. But some of the clothing choices, I was like, okay. And then Sarah was like, no, this is the thing. Like, 90s styles are making a comeback. And I'm just like, okay, I guess like when I was growing up in the 90s, people were wearing like stuff from the 70s and bell bottoms and shit like that. So it makes sense. But I thought that I would be like confused and old, like watching like the new trends. But it just seemed very familiar there. So,
Yeah,
mom jeans, they're back, I guess.
it happens. But so back to Cobra Kai. There's one last thing we kind of need to bring up, and it's something because the creators kind of threw out a tweet saying that there's going to be a return of a character that has yet to appear, like a character that actually appeared in the movies, and they said that has yet to appear in the show. And I think they threw that as a red herring because everyone knows that Hilary Swank is the one major part that just hasn't appeared, and I still think she will in the final set, the final 5 after the Sakai Dakai tournament, or however you pronounce it. She's going to see Miyagi. She'll see that Miyagi-Do, and she'll kind of hunt down Daniel and whatever. But I think they'll have an actual 2-episode arc with her. I think she's going to help Tori come back and realize a lot of things. But I don't think. I think they threw that as a red herring because I think they're also bringing back someone that we have yet to see from the original movie. And if you remember a couple seasons ago, Johnny Lawrence got together with his friends at Cobra Kai, and they had a drinking night. They got into a fight. But there was one guy missing, Dutch. And the actor, the reason why he didn't make it because he kind of quit acting, but also he had prior engagements. If you don't remember Dutch, he was kind of like the bad boy of the group. He was the enforcer.
Yeah.
He just, I think, obviously, because they mentioned he was in jail, but they did not show him. He's going to be part of the story somehow. I think somehow with Kenny, because Kenny obviously did not make it to this tournament, and he's going to think Anthony LaRusso, spiked his drink with the laxatives and shit. But I think because he'll go end up in like juvie or something like that, I think that's how Dutch will appear. But I think they're going to show Dutch and be like, see, we brought someone back just to get us over the fact that Hilary Swank, surprise, surprise, is actually on the show. But she's going to, she will be. How? I don't know. I think like I said, I think she'll just see Miyagi-Do. She'll track down Daniel LaRusso. She'll see Tori because, hey, newsflash, they're kind of alike. Both their parents died. They hate the world, and she will help Tori kind of, for lack of better terms, come back to the good side. So, I do think we're going to see Dutch. Yes. Well, not it doesn't have to be Miyagi-Do. Just don't have all this hate in your heart because that's what Tori. She just wants to fight. She doesn't know what else to do. So it's not exactly means come back to Miyagi-Do. It just means you don't need to use this. Just let it go. But I do think
karate.
All right, let's not go all Sith and Force here, but yeah, so yeah, but I think that's how they'll tie all this together.
Yeah, that makes sense. It makes sense to me, and look, I'm enjoying it. I got to do a better job of catching up on stuff because, there's such space in between seasons that I'm just like, wait, what just happened? And then I'm recapping. I'm like, I don't remember shit. So, by the time a new season comes around, I'm like, okay, well, do I have to watch this from the beginning so I can remember what happened? And I don't have time for that. But it's good. It doesn't ask a lot of you.
Nope.
It's not a lot of heavy lifting. It's fun. The fights are decent. They're all right, like for what I expect. And there's enough teen angst to keep me going. So,
yes,
thumbs up.
That's
for
all.
me.
That's all we need. Just teen angst and fighting.
Absolutely.
But is there anything else you want to bring out about this final season or Cobra Kai so far? What do you expect? Just more fighting, more teen angst? Is that all it's going to come down to for you?
Yeah, I just want the teen angst, honestly. There could be some karate mixed in. Daniel is as fucking whiny as he was in the first movies, and he continues to be that way as an adult. I don't understand how his wife deals with him, but seeing his house, they have such a nice house. And he cannot let go of this whole karate thing. So, yeah, I don't know. Looking forward to the rest of it. It feels very undone. It's a good place for them to end it after 5 episodes because it starts with the tournament and, Tori obviously making the quote-unquote heel turn. So, yeah, looking forward to it. I'll watch the rest of it. And I think, it comes out in November? It's not too bad.
Yep, November. And then the final 5, they don't have exact month, but definitely 2025 will be the final 5 episodes. So. But those who listened all the way, let us know what you thought of the first part of Cobra Kai, what you enjoyed, what was your favorite scene, and what do you think is going to happen next. But until next time...
Cobra Kai never dies?
Never dies. Question mark? Is it dead?
Question mark? Is it dead?